Her name is Dr. Zainab Yaro. She's a pediatric doctor and the medical director of Dr. Mims Clinic and Wellness, where she is helping change how children are cared for in Nigeria. She works with newborns, mothers, and children, and she's known for going the extra mile to protect what she calls little humans. In this episode, you will learn how doctors make life-saving decisions under pressure, the role of nutrition and mental health in childcare, and what parents should truly focus on in their child's early years, and more. Without further ado, Dr. Zainab Yaro. What is it you do and why?
Okay. So I'm a pediatric doctor, so that means I take care of little humans from newborn stage to adolescents, even though some of them still stay with me long after they've gone past that age. So, and it's not just about the physical health. We take care of everything in between. So their mental health, nutrition, cognition, we talk about school. So basically anything that concerns a little human, I'm in. So that's what I do. And currently I run a private practice. I'm the medical director at Dr Mims Clinic and Wellness. So we like to think of it as a one-stop shop for everything, little humans, any concerns the parents have or the little humans have. We want to be the ones to provide the solution and provide the answers in a safe space for them, basically. So, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Why?
I think from the beginning, I think people assume that I've always loved children, so naturally, that's what I'll be drawn to. And I think recently there's a secondary school group they have, and we're just sharing like images from our yearbook. And then mine comes up, and then I saw pediatrics right there in italics, and I don't remember writing that. So, meaning from the get go, there was this innate like need to sort of take care of children. And for me, I don't think it was one thing precisely. I think it was a build up. Sometimes, not sometimes, now I look at it as a calling because growing up, whenever there was a family gathering, I'm always one who take care of the little cousins. At the time I was 14, I could bathe the newborn, even the preterm. So I was always drawn to children and especially the ones who needed a little bit more help. So children with special needs. I think it was there's this innocence, this pure spirit around them that I'm drawn to and keeps me there. There's something very fulfilling about caring for children. With them, there's no facade, there's no pretense. When a little human is unwell, you know it. If they're well, you know it. And then you're able to intervene and then see results. And that for me is so rewarding and so fulfilling. And that's a cause I've found worth, living for basically. And that's it for me. That's my why.
Would you say that was the moment when you felt this is the path I want to go down? Caring for your little cousins?
For me, again, I don't think it was a moment. I think it was more like a gradual pull.
Hmm.
There were tiny moments that built up to this. There wasn't this eureka moment. I felt, oh wow, well this is what I'm meant to do. Yes, I think there was always something gravitating me, like I told you, to caring for little humans, especially the ones with special needs. Like if you look at my algorithm now, there's always kids with special needs popping up. And I remember this little cousin I had. She's no longer with us, and they came over to us for the holiday. And I promise you, the highlight of my day was always coming home to see her. Like she had Down syndrome, and I would just pick her up, piggyback her, spend the whole day with her. There's something again about some people see it as a messiah kind of complex, but I see it as something like being able to make a difference, being able to help them with their quality of life. And again, for me, it's not just about treating illnesses, it's about them as a whole. You know how they say children are the leaders of tomorrow? It's like I'm protecting the future, And for every sick child, behind every sick child, there's an anxious parent, just praying, trusting you with their most precious gift. And trust is a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool. And the children too are so trusting. So at the end of the day, being able to fulfill that purpose and then see them come back to life, so to say, I think I've had defining moments, not just one moment. That's what I'm trying to say.
Can we go back in time and look at what your childhood was like?
You've really taken me back in time. Um, growing up, I grew up in a household where I had little ones. I was the first girl, so in Igbos they will call it Ada. Then the Fulani people call it Ada, you know. So I've always had this sense of responsibility. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, was I being prepared for this path? You know, I have an issue. I've always cared for my little ones. I have some that the age gap is quite, you know, so I would take care of them, take them to school, go for their PTA meetings and all of that. So growing up, I always had this sense of responsibility, like I need to be there for, you know, the younger ones. And even till now, I've had little sisters, I've gotten married, but I always pray to God that anytime they reach out to me and ask me for something, I should be able to deliver. And alhamdulillah, like they'll say things like, oh, you've always come through for us. Oh, yeah, ATM, you know, and things like that. And even, you know, emotional and all of that. So growing up, sometimes I always feel like, oh, do I have to, like, it might be too much for me to carry on my shoulders, but I think it has prepared me for this path, you know. Yeah, basically, I've just grown up in a home that was filled with love, lots of laughter. And my brother always say when we're together, it's like a pack of hyenas. We're always just laughing and, you know, and I think that has translated into how I practice and how I take care of the you know, the kids at the clinic. It's just love all around, I guess.
You work in situations where seconds matter. Was there a moment early in your career that changed you as a person?
Yes. Again, you know, there are quite a number, but if so, there's one. It was, yes, it wasn't like in seconds. And you know, with children, taking care of children, seconds do matter. Anything life and death, you know, seconds matter. But there was this one time about 10 years ago, I was working at a military hospital, and so the chief comes in. We have a cesarean section scheduled, and pediatric team, you have to. And this woman had a baby who they delivered late on in the last trimester. They had congenital malformations. And there was a choice between destructive surgery to bring out the baby piecemeal or to bring out the baby whole and give the baby a chance to survive.
When you say piecemeal, you mean in pieces?
Yeah, so in pieces. So there's, you know, the fontanelle at the top. So you make a hole there and the brain comes out and then the pieces come out, you know, and it's very gruesome. And the choice obviously was to give, you know, sometimes they say doctors like to play God, but to give the baby a chance to live. Baby comes out, the most beautiful boy. And obviously, he did have the malformations we'd seen on ultrasound. He had a big head, the limbs were deformed, his kidneys weren't functioning well. And I took him to the mom with the nurse, and the mom, even she just wouldn't look at the baby, you know, she wouldn't feed him. And they were intent on not providing any of the medication, any of the funding. And at that moment, I made it my mission to get all the things the baby needed so that the baby would make it home alive. Now, my dilemma was whether going to take the baby home or dump him somewhere. And in that moment, I realized as a pediatric doctor, it's not just about treating the illness, it's about being an advocate for the little humans that have nobody to speak up for them. Because ideally, the advocate for the child is the guardian or the parent. And in that moment, I realized that beyond my calling as a doctor, there was this need for advocacy for the little humans. And there was a huge shift for me in that moment. And it changed my mindset about who I was as a doctor, as a pediatric doctor to be precise, you know. So I knew that advocacy was going to be a huge part of my practice.
What do you feel people misunderstand about the work you do?
I think even my colleagues misunderstand it. Sometimes they think I'm crazy. Like, why do I love pediatrics so much? And I joke about this all the time. And I tell them, I said, oh, at least I love going to work in the morning. I look for every opportunity to be at the clinic, even when I don't need to. So aside from the fact that I love what I do, and I'm so grateful to Allah for that, you know, they misunderstand it because they think, oh, little humans can't talk. So how do you get to, you know, they're very temperamental, you know, they don't sit still. I love it in the sense that there's this purity. I love working with I don't like adults, I'm sorry. I don't like working with adults. And a huge part of the difficult aspect of my work as the MD or as a doctor is dealing with the parents. But with the children, I mean, they're meant to act like children. They don't say much, but you can tell from their body language. And that's why there's a science around it. You examine them. Some of them have mood swings like we all do, and people don't understand that. So they think it's so difficult working with children, but I think it's the easiest thing I've had to do. Go on and on, like telling you what my day is like.
Yeah.
But I love it. But the misconception is a difficult line, you know, and you don't understand children, they can't speak. but it's very fulfilling. They respond very quickly to treatment, and they're like an open book, basically. So it's very easy.
You have to build that resilience to deal with little humans, because some of us actually find it to some extent quite difficult, to deal with little kids. So how did you build that resilience, to
Again, I think, some things are innate. Like, I don't think it was something that I had to really work on. I think it was there. But what I would like to say is, if you're ever going to be in the business of childcare, you have to have patience, like lots of it, be it in school or you work as an attendant in a park, or especially as a doctor, dealing with the parents and with the children. You have to build that sense of, you have to be a child yourself.
Yeah.
If you catch me at any party, I'm jumping on the bouncy castle or something. So, like I tell my staff, I don't employ people that are not childlike in the way they move, or they don't tolerate children, because it won't work. So it's something, it's not, and the truth is not for everybody. And the other dark aspect of it is, you're going to lose some patients. And that's what I've built over the years. I used to be so emotional. I'll cry all the time. But now I look at it in a different light. As Muslims, we know that at some point, everybody's going to transition, to the afterlife.
Yeah.
And sometimes knowing that kids are, destined for Jannah, that gives me peace. At least they're not suffering here in the world and they're on the other side. But yeah, there are moments where I still cry and I break down. But I think I've improved in that aspect of it, in terms of the emotional aspect of not being able to help certain patients and losing some. I think I've grown in that aspect over the years.
You've been at the beginning of these children's lives, and unfortunately, some of them you've been at the end. How has that affected your perception of life and gratitude?
So this is so timely. I did a post yesterday and I didn't expect that kind of reaction. It's something sometimes I write and it never makes it out of my notebook. But I'd written about, how we think about when you die, do you want a tree planted in your honor or well built?
Yeah.
And I've always thought of it that, what would I want the most when I'm no longer here? And I thought, the people that I want the most to pray for me was the little humans, whether I'd come across their lives or not, or our paths had crossed. Because I mean, they're purest of souls, and it's from their lips to God's ears. And I did a post about it, and there was just this image of me somewhere in Medina, and I just wrote, like, if you ever hear of my passing, and oh my goodness, I've still not finished responding to the messages, but it has taught me the meaning of life and then death, the beauty of birth. Even that has its own scars. They come into the world and then there are so many issues sometimes. And then, there's this innocence and then they begin to change. Because I've seen them from when they're little and sometimes their personalities change and all of that. And sometimes when you see the child at the end, there's something different about the way a child passes on. It's something I've never seen in adults. And I promise you this is true for me. There's this sense of peace. I know it comes for some adults, but there's something different about children passing on that I've never seen with adults. And that's why I'm always drawn to them, drawn to their spirit. And I do believe that most little humans, regardless of their faith, I believe they're going to end up in Jannah. I believe so.
What about gratitude? How does that influence you?
You know what they say, if you want to be very grateful, you stay on the corridors of a hospital. I've become grateful for a lot of things in my own life, in the world. Sometimes I look at my boys and I think, oh, like I'm so grateful. Like, it's no secret. I always wanted girls, but then, God blessed me with boys. And alhamdulillah, because I've seen what could happen in having children that have malformations, children that come out, 10 fingers, 10 toes, but then they're autistic. They have some sort of special need. And sometimes I've seen the journey that these parents walk. I've seen the journeys of parents that have children that are terminally ill or have sickle cell. And it makes me so grateful for the little things, for being able to live a pain-free life or have children that don't need anything extra. I'm just grateful for that, because if you're seeing the other side of it, you're going to be grateful for the littlest things. Sometimes when I have a congestion, I remember, was I not grateful enough when I could breathe easily? So being around children who fall ill or people generally or seeing death makes you more grateful, and it makes you detached from the worldly things. I remember telling my mom that I'm so detached from worldly things now that if I want something, I don't get it. Life goes on. Anything that doesn't follow me to the grave now, it's something, and until I think we begin to live that way, we don't have this sense of freedom from the things that exist just in the world, you know. And honestly, just seeing that in the hospital setting makes me realize that there's a lot we need to be grateful for that we're not.
There was a quote by Marcus Aurelius. He's a philosopher that I love, and I keep replaying it in my head, that says, "What are you so afraid of losing when nothing in this world belongs to you?" And I always ponder on that quote. It keeps me detached from all these materialistic things, because the only thing that's going to follow us is our deeds and our actions, and not the cars, not the money, not the fame, and so on and so forth. And I very often reflect on that quote, and I love it so much. I think it's something that I've tattooed in my brain. What is one mistake you feel a lot of parents make when raising healthy kids?
So there's a long list, but I'll try to. So in the medical setting, in terms of the physical health, in other parts of the world, you have the wellness checks. So there's a schedule from birth, initially it's like in weeks, then in months, where child is well, but you bring him up just for checks. It's not something we practice here. And that's something I've tried to, imbibe in my practice. Like you bring them in for, and there's so many things you pick. The child looks well to the parents, but I see with a different lens, right? And I'm able to pick that. So number one is parents don't bring them for checks or just vaccines. Oh, they're what? They're fine. Don't let sleeping dogs lie. Then they tend to pick advice from the internet. Oh, mommy, this said this, it worked for her child, it's going to work for me. It doesn't always work that way. Always get your information from credible sources. Another thing they do is not the physical health per se, is in terms of the mental. I feel kids need a lot of affirmation from their parents. Like, oh, you're doing so well. Like, they only tell them what isn't working. I see it a lot in the clinic. Oh, you're so this, you're so untidy, you're this. But they need to hear the praise as well. They need to hear when they're doing things well. And when they come in, I have these chats with them about school and all of that. And sometimes the very first time a parent knows a child is being bullied in school is when we have a consultation. So I feel in terms of, health is not just the physical, it's the social, emotional, all of that. They need to speak more to them. I think is an African thing. We don't listen, we don't have conversations with them. It's always just how was school this. We need to really see them and really open the line of conversation. I was talking to some of my staff. I was like, in the past, you'd never hear of a person in Nigeria committing suicide. But now it's happening because the children don't feel okay to come to us with certain complaints or, some certain problems they have because there's no open line of communication. So in terms of raising healthy children, we think we're raising them just physically healthy, but we need to think about the mental as well. We need to really speak to them and really see them and let them feel that it's okay to always come to us with anything that's troubling them.
When do you draw the line, though? Because I can imagine if you keep on praising them and you keep on giving these words of affirmation, it can get to their heads and they can eventually become spoiled. So how do you know when to draw the line and when not to overdo it?
So in terms of, giving praise, we have the different things. We have reward, we have praise, we have reinforcement. So like in behavior analysis, there's something we do like the token economy, where a child has to do certain things, earn tokens before they get the reinforcement, the final prize. And again, we have something we call the sandwich approach, where the child does something bad. So the sandwich, you start with the good, hit them with the bad, and then conclude with the good again. So that sandwich approach cushions, because there's a lot, even as adults, and someone tells you, why do you think people post a lot on social media? You're in the space, you know why. It's this sense of validation. So if they don't get it from home, they're seeking it from strangers. So you're going to give them just enough to keep them humble, but enough to remind them that they're so worth it. So, too much, everything is the dose that makes the poison. I like to say that in everything. So it's in the dose of what, and then I can give this, I have child A. I know if I just tell him, you did so well, that's enough. Well, with child B, actually, you did so well, or even the other day, you did so well, then, you have to understand each child because there's no one set rule, one size fits all for all the children. It's the same way you give them candy or sweets. You give them just enough to not make them want what they see with other kids, but not too much to make them sick or to make them greedy. So you have to individualize it honestly. You have to know what your child is like to now know that if I say this too often, it's going to get to her head, Or if I say too little, then it's not enough.
Are there other practices that, besides affirmation, that parents could engage in with their kids to improve their mental well-being or their physical well-being?
So besides affirmation, it's just there's something I saw, and it's just like trying to engage. You know how people have um activities as families? Because sometimes you come into a room, there's a family there, and dad is on his laptop, mom is on her phone, and all of that. We've lost that sense of being in the same room, really being in the same room.
A connectedness.
Yes, I see the way my son, his eyes light up when like I'm really seeing him, like I'm focused, So I'm not trying to feel, oh, is anything wrong? But I just see him and he knows I see him and I'm just listening. I just pause. I drop everything, my phone, everything, and I'm just listening. And just that connection, it goes a long way. And we always eat together as a family. That too is something that, like, he's always like, Mom, are you ready to eat? It's almost like he can't eat if we're not all eating together. And I think that builds a safety net, knowing that, we do this together, we're there as a family. Parents think that once you just take care of the children, good education, health, you buy them phones. No, you have to be there, you have to be present. No matter how busy your life is, there are times when you have to drop the ball. That's work or, your career, and just pick up the family ball and then just be there. I promise you, if people begin to do that, just see them and really connect with them, it changes everything.
One of the things to avoid, like devices, is giving kids like iPads and phones at a young age. Does it affect their mental health in a negative way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like we've said, as a parent, you have phases. There's a phase where you be their friend. Early on is not the phase to be their friend. They're not going to like you at some point. They're going to rue the day you became their parent at some point. But that's okay. Growing up, my mom would scold me. She would, because now people say, oh, you are like best friends. Anything she wants to decide, she will call me. What do you think about this? Early on, we weren't friends, I remember when I really wanted to learn how to drive, and she was like, no, you have to be 6. And it just hurt so bad. And a lot of the things she said then didn't make sense until now that I'm a parent. It makes sense. So you're not always going to be their friend, and that's fine. Devices have done more harm than good, if we're being honest. We all know this, but I think we just want the easy way out. We don't want them to be upset with us or want them to just not bother us, or we get them the latest phone, the devices. It's replacing so many things. I'm seeing a lot of cases of rickets now that I was seeing when I was in somewhere in Shika. I'm seeing it here in Abuja, and rickets is vitamin D deficiency, which we weren't seeing. I mean, we have a lot of melanin. It's mostly sunny all year round. Children are spending more time indoors in front of a screen. Autism is on the rise, not because the cases are increasing, but because the things that are bringing the symptoms to light is the screen time. You see what is happening online. There are people that are grooming children online because once they have internet, they have access to every part of the world, everything. No matter how much restriction you put on it, they have access to everything. And it's scary. You can't keep a child in a bubble, but you can try in terms of, the world being a global village. Imagine somebody in somewhere far in the West grooming your child here in Africa. And it's possible, it's happening. It's scary times, I promise you, but the most we can do is try to restrict it or try to shield them as much as we can, because we're not going to shield them forever, but we can try. And they're not going to like us, but that's fine.
Besides devices, are there other things like diet or physical activities that they don't engage in that they should be engaging in that you feel is very detrimental to their physical and mental well-being?
Yeah, so in terms of diet, again, this was a problem of the West, childhood obesity and all of that. I'm seeing it even here in the clinic. Children are beginning to eat almost everything is, before in the past, we didn't have so many processed things. Yeah, but now there's so much junk. We have all the Burger King around, KFC. Before it was just Mr. Biggs. I used to die for this. People went to Mr. Biggs. But now all the fast food joints, all the franchise you see in other parts of the world, we have them here. And children is always where I want this. And for some of the parents, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but it's always like they have the mumu button of every parent. Like, I want this, you answer to every whim and every request.
Yeah.
So we're beginning to see more unhealthy habits. And it's not just about the size, it's about things like diabetes, in the future, metabolic syndrome. So we're looking at things like that because there's junk, there's fizzy drinks. And if you're intentional about it, I remember when noodles, everybody was talking about noodles. I loved Indomie growing up. I can't even lie. I still do, but I regulate it. And all I did was take it in the beginning, take it out of the household. And I noticed that if it's not there, they're not asking for it.
What's wrong with noodles?
With noodles, instant noodles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instant noodles, in terms of the makeup of the noodles itself, then the spices, with all the things, and you find children, they'll say, oh, just put vegetables, it makes it healthier. Having instant noodles all the time, it's not healthy for children, Having things like fizzy drinks all the time. And even I was guilty in the past. For every school lunch, there was like a juice box, that. And I've stopped that. We do Fridays, we do juice, or we do like a juice box on a Friday. And they've been fine. I remember even today, I asked my son, do you want it? He said, no, he just wanted water.
Interesting.
So in trying to model what you want them to do, my kids love fruits and vegetables. I remember an aunt saying, how come this 3-year-old eats salad? It's because he sees us eating it and then he's interested. So you actually have to model it as well, in terms of diet and all of that. Then in terms of activities, I'm a bit biased because I was sports prefect in school. So I love sports. I've noticed that most of even my patients that are into sports, the discipline is different. For anybody that even goes to the gym, that the discipline is different. Any child that engages in sports, the mindset is different, the discipline is different, not to talk about the physical health. So engage them in physical activity. You could just be skipping for all I care, Not everybody will be an athlete, but engage them in extracurricular activities, something else too. And I find that in places like Birmingham, in the mosques, they have like centers where the teenage boys play badminton after prayers, and that takes away that dead time that they get to engage in joining the gangs or doing drugs, because their minds are occupied. After prayers, there are activities in different centers where they're doing dawah, and all of that, and it takes them off the streets. You know what they say about the idle mind? Rather than them playing games with people across the world with the roadblocks and all of that, engage them in physical activities. They're getting their vitamin D, they're keeping fit, they're training the body and the mind. I mean, I feel every child should have one extracurricular thing he's doing. It could be coding, it could be anything, not just books and then leave them to their devices to do whatever they please.
When you say diet, are there like specific food that they can eat that you feel?
So, in terms of diet, all I like to say is just eat from a rainbow. Just eat all the colors, So, eat your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, your proteins. So, more natural stuff, less processed, So, food. So, friends always ask, oh, multivitamins, oh, this, they boost their immunity. Just having clean diet alone. So, eating from all the classes. Sometimes you have children that look very chubby and parents admire them. Oh, he looks so cute. But they have what we call hidden hunger. There's a micronutrient deficiency. So they're eating from only the bodybuilding foods. They're not eating from things that have the micronutrients. They're not eating vegetables or fruits, things that have zinc, iron and all of that. So they're growing big. So in your, up in your face, apparently they look well fed and healthy. But then they begin to have thin hair, their nails are brittle, they fall ill all the time. And then you're wondering, well, but he eats well, he's putting on weight, he has hidden hunger. So he's not just eating food, he's eating from all the classes of food and having a balanced diet. And that sets the tone for what they now begin to do in adulthood.
So that is diet, exercise, avoiding too much screens.
Yes.
Is there anything else that they can focus on?
Spirituality. I think at the end of the day, that is what ties everything together, regardless of your faith. I think we all have to believe there's something greater than all of us. So I think it has to start from the beginning. And it's something I've learned along the way as well. Like with my second, he's starting in an Islamic Montessori. So the things like the prayers to go to sleep, he knows all of it and everything is like Bismillah, he's so eager to pray because he's starting early on.
Yeah.
And that sets, again, the tone for what goes on in adulthood so that they don't struggle as adults. Because regardless of what you want to believe, there's sometimes you need help and even if you don't believe in God, you're just looking up to the sky. And that's why people talk about Mother Nature and the universe, because we know there's something greater than all of us. So the spirituality, I think we need to start early on. They're never too young. I've come to realize that with my patients, they're never too young. They're assimilating everything. And that's why a toddler can learn 4 languages at the same time, and they become multilingual. So with spirituality, I think we need to start early on. If not, they will struggle later in life with everything. That's what I believe.
Throughout your work, what would you say, or your career, what would you say has been the hardest day for you, and how did you get through it?
The hardest day for me, you know my answer already. I have a lot of hard days, but I think the ones that have been most difficult for me was having a patient just between life and death, and knowing that I was the only person, perhaps I was the most senior person there, you know. I remember there was this incident just here at the clinic. A patient of mine who's autistic. I was just sitting at the reception. I wasn't even dressed for work. And then in comes her dad and a lady who was supposed to be her teacher. They were rushing with her. She was just limp, in her father's arms. And we rushed into the emergency room. She was semi-conscious. And I was asking so many questions. What happened? They said she convulsed at school, blah, blah, blah. But after a convulsion, this lucid period, you're conscious, and all of that. And right away, I remembered her history. She did have a problem with sugar. So we quickly checked her random blood sugar, and it was the lowest I'd ever seen, 1.2. And so the first thing I knew I needed to do was set an IV line and give her the glucose. And all her veins were collapsed. And I could hear the tick in my head. Tick tock, tick. Time was going and she was slipping away. Her mom runs in. She was rolling on the floor, pregnant, screaming. But in my head, I could just hear the tick tock. And then my next instinct was to shave her hair. Quickly shaved it, got an IV access, pushed in the glucose. Because there was silence. All I could hear was silence as long as she wasn't conscious. And then out of the blues, I hear ringa, ringa roses. And she was singing. Because the moment I pushed in the glucose, and that's how dramatic it is. And she was just singing. And like inward, like I think had broken down with, not with, but with relief. Like this girl was actually going to make it, because in that moment I felt, she was just going to, I didn't want to say the word even in my head. When that moment, and she just started singing, and I was so relieved. I almost fell, from where I was standing. And in that moment, I went and I was like, am I sure I can do this? Like, because that would have just broken me, knowing that this is what she needed and I couldn't come through. And in that moment, I stopped for a bit and it stayed with me. And I was thinking, is this really the path I really want to go through? And I've been doing this that was about 11 years at the time, And just seeing her afterwards and her mom being happy, that just further reminded me why I was doing it in the first place, you know. So that moment, I don't know, I've had many moments where a patient nearly dead, but that particular one, just that has sink in so many times, it just comes back into, and I think that was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard in my life. But that just reminded me why I was doing it in the first place, and the kind of fulfillment you get at the end of the day. Just not bringing someone back to life, but you know what I mean.
Saving them.
Yes.
How is she now?
Well, she's older now. She's doing well. She still has some deficits, but I mean, she's a lot better from where we started from. She's thriving. She's really doing well. And her mother will check in, and that gives me joy. Every now and then, she'll just drop a message, just checking in. She was one of the people that messaged yesterday when they saw the post. Everybody went crazy. And she was like, I just want to tell you, you're not going anywhere, and all of that. And it's just very refreshing when the parents now see you as family, not just, their children's doctor.
Emotionally, on an emotional level, how do you separate work from home?
I need to be honest, it's very difficult sometimes. And I say it all the time that, my husband is very patient, very supportive. And my children have learned to share me with all the rest of the children, you know. But sometimes like I always say, different balls you juggle: glass, plastic, wood. Sometimes I know when I can't drop the ball that has to do with my kids because it's glass at that moment and I have to choose them. Just yesterday, mom was saying, "Oh, I wish you came in more on the weekends." I was like, "But I'm here Monday to Friday." Like before, I was there all till Sunday. I was like, "Oh, now I just need to." So she's like, "Okay, why not take out a day in the week and then come Saturday?" So I was like, "Oh, that could work." But then I was like, "Well, that's when my boys are home, you know?" So sometimes the line isn't very clear. Sometimes it's very sketchy and there's an overlap. And I'm grateful that my family is so graceful and they sort of forgive me for not being there certain times. But I feel there's a greater calling. I'm a mom first, but then there's a greater calling beyond being a mother. Being a pediatric doctor is different. If I was a doctor for adults, I promise you, I'll be living my best life. Because honestly, with adults, it's black or white. Do you want this? Or you don't want it? But with children, sometimes the parents refuse certain treatment and I have to advocate for the child. A mentor of mine told me once that you can never love a child more than their parents. But sometimes I feel I do. But I get what she means, but sometimes I have to go beyond my limits as a doctor.
Yeah.
And that's why most times they see us as family because there's a different style at Dr. Mims Clinic, if I do so say myself, there's a different style. There's this family-based, the way we consult, the way we follow up with our patients. I see them as family, not just another hospital number. I know their names, their siblings, I know their nannies, their schools, So actually between family and work, the line is not always very clear. That's one thing I can say. But I'm trying to make it clearer. I'm a work in progress.
There was something you said that at Dr. Mims, it's a bit different. I get the impression that you wish other hospitals approached or treated their patients the way you do, or the way you're approaching it at your own hospital. What is that? What does that look like? Like, what does Dr. Mims, the Wellness Institute, how does that look?
So when you walk in, it's a different feel. You don't. Some of the kids always ask me, "Where is this place?" And I say it's a hospital. One boy said, "You're lying. That is not a hospital." And that gives me joy because that was the intent, that was the mission, and that's the vision I've always had for them to have a different experience. So picture a child lying to come to the hospital. They lie that their tummy hurts just because they want to come and play or they want to come and say hello to me. And the parents will call in and I don't know if this boy is lying, but he says his tummy hurts. And we've had a girl hooking up a play date with her friend in school. She's like, "I'm going to tell my mom I have a headache this weekend so that we can meet at Dr. Mims Clinic." Like, what would you tell your mom? Her mom overheard her. So it's a different vibe when you're walking through the door. Consultation isn't like you and I across a table. You could just see me with your mom and you think we're old friends, but actually having a consultation.
Interesting.
So with the examinations, there's a child by the kitchen making pizza in the oven, and I'm actually listening to their chest. And we finish our examination in there. Some of the children who are autistic can really get examined in the car because that's what's familiar to them. So sometimes we have to take our chair outside to the playground. I sit with the parents, we have a chat, we do examinations outside. Their sample is taken outside, And a mom actually asked me, she was like, that she wanted to ask, is there somewhere we can talk? Because she noticed this is not the conventional. And I was like, oh, this is what we do here. But we have consulting rooms, especially for the older kids, who you can actually talk to. And some things are private, But by and large, when you come in, you just think we're just chatting with friends and, the kids are just playing. But we're actually consulting and we're actually examining them. And so when they leave, the only time, so sometimes, they get the injections and they cry, but then they get stickers, they get balloons, and the kinds of pacifies them. So they forgive us. And it's so bad that when you see a child in town and you see a particular type of bandit, and they're like, "Oh, you go to Dr. Mims Clinic." So it's become like a trademark. We have, once you see a child with a stick and one particular bandit with one of the colors, they've come to ours. And then just that sense of them feeling, and the parents, one thing they always say is they feel like they're heard. Because you listen, you don't just write off any complaint, you listen to them. And we try our best, we try to follow up. It's not just, "Oh, I've seen you." It's that journey to wellness. And that has been our motto. And that's what let's say we're walking the talk, right? That's how you see it. Yes. That's what we've tried to do. So I wish other hospitals understand that they're actually little humans and you have to come down to their level. You have to be at eye level with them. And that's just our style. And we've been doing it in the beginning, I'm sure people were saying, "Oh, these people, they're giving balloons, they will stop." It's been almost 5 years and we're still doing that, I feel the hospitals would be more in tune with what children like. You come in, everything is silver or black or white.
Yeah.
It needs to be colorful. They're so easy to please. They're so easy to please. Just get things that are child friendly. That's all I ask, and be patient.
Assuming you had the power to change how other hospitals are run, what would you change?
So I'll change the setup to begin with. I'll change the chairs. Some of them are just silver.
Yes.
Yes. You come in and the chairs are just silver in the waiting area and it's iron. I'll change how it appears from the outside. Our building is pink and purple and yellow. You can imagine what I have in mind. So I'll change the outlook of the space. Then I'll change how the consultations are done, the setup. I need them to be more relaxed. Like you can sit on the floor and consult with them. Then I need is the patience. I don't know how I can change that, but I need them to be more patient with the children, more patient with the parents. Every parent that comes in is anxious. I need them to be more patient and polite. I find that doctors are very standoffish. Some doctors don't even touch the children. They don't examine. You don't build that connection. I would love them to have lots of toys. Then colorful band-aids. You shouldn't have all those stainless things, Just have colorful things, have bubbles, and then especially the mindset and then the communication style of the healthcare professionals. They should be softer when dealing with children and their parents. We will get there.
I hope so. I wanted to go back to balancing work and family life.
Right.
What would be your advice to parents who could be in this space that you're in, also in the medical field, and they want to balance it better? What would be your best advice to them?
Honestly, you have to, like I was saying, the times where you have to focus on what's the most important thing in your life, and that's your family, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not going to love your child more than the next child, right? You have a calling. So, I mean, whether you're working with the government or with the facility, you're tied by the salary you're being paid. Then you're tied by your faith. If you're being paid for something, you have to deliver. So the basic things you're supposed to do, by all means, do it or you walk away. I always say it, I'd rather not get paid and walk away from it than falter in my duties. So you have to fulfill your duties, your primary duties. Now, going the extra mile as a physician or as a nurse or whatever field you're in, it's more beautiful if you can go the extra mile beyond what your role is as a person, what you're being paid for. God will be kind to you. Like if you do go the extra mile, especially for a child, you can go the extra mile, but you have to remember that you have to strike a balance. At the end of the day, when all the chips are down, the people that will be there for you at the end of the day is your family first.
Yeah.
So if you're giving all of yourself to people outside and not your family, they're going to suffer. And you know what it means to raise children in terms of therapy and all of that. You have to be present. You have to see. It's not just I come back from, oh, how was school? You're back. Did you eat? It goes back to what I was telling you. You need to be present. You have to find, in the beginning when I set up, early days, I was there all the time. I remember my son was there, Mommy, you're going to work again. It was almost like, can't you stay home and play with us? But honestly, I've gotten to the point where now, regardless of what is happening, the world will end if I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm home. I want to be present. I want to attend the school meetings. I want to be around for birthdays. I want to be around if they're unwell. The only difference is I can bring them to work with me because that's where they're supposed to be. But you need to find a balance, not just as a parent, but as a spouse, whether you're male or female. Like now, I keep saying, oh, my husband is so supportive. And there's a thin line because sometimes the change happens and you don't even see it. It's not very apparent. It happens gradually. People don't just wake up and grow apart. It happens gradually and, bits and pieces of relationship keep, you have to find time for movie nights, send them to their grandparents. You have to find time to just be alone and, just remember why you even got together in the first place.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're always out there, oh, my husband is understanding, oh, he's so supportive, you're going to wake up one day and realize that you don't even recognize the person you're living with because time has gone, time you can't recall. So in everything we do, balance is everything. We have to try and strike a balance. Like I said, everything is a work in progress. I'm not perfect, but I try my best. I remember that I have to be there for the ones who need me the most as well. So everybody needs to remember that. I think we get carried away sometimes, especially as medics, we tend to get carried away, but we have to remember that we have another life.
Quick one. If you're like me, you probably have a long list of books you want to read, but not enough time to sit down and go through all of them. You want the key ideas and the real lessons without spending hours trying to get through each and every single page. Well, that's why I use Shortform. Whenever I want to understand a big idea quickly or refresh my memory on a book I've already read, I go on Shortform to get those key ideas. It breaks everything down in a way that's simple and actually fun to read. Shortform has valuable guides to almost every important non-fiction book you can possibly think of. And they don't just summarize the books, they explain the ideas, add insights, and help you connect concepts you might have missed. I'm sure you love the personal growth, business, and psychology sections. They are packed with so much values, and new guides are added every single week. Subscribers even get to vote on which books are covered next. Two guides I revisited recently were $100 Million Offers and $100 Million Leads by Alex Amosi. Going through the Shortform guide helped me recall the key frameworks and actually apply them better in my own work. So if you want to try Shortform, I've got something for you. You can get a free trial and $50 off your subscription using my link shortform.com/Nurain. You basically get access to thousands of book guides for less than the price of one book each month. Just go to shortform.com/Nurain. I'll leave it in the description so you can check it out easily. Again, that is shortform.com, shortform.com/Nurain for a free trial and $50 off. It's honestly one of the best upgrades I've made on how I learn. Now back to the podcast. In moments of pressure and during emergencies, what keeps you calm and composed? Because I would imagine that you have emergencies and it's like you're always on call or very often on call. What keeps you calm?
See, the difference between panic and staying calm is knowledge. That's what I've come to realize. If you know what to do in an emergency, you're going to be calm. And that panic is inward. A lot of times people don't see it. If I go to the theater to receive a baby, knife on skin, that's my time T to begin with. I know that in the next 5 minutes, I should hear a baby crying. I'm waiting patiently by the resuscitator for the baby. Midwife collects the baby. Time T, 5 minutes goes by, silence. Baby is out. I know there's a problem. And my heart begins to race. Well, how do I look? I look very calm. Because I know the next steps. I know what it means to resuscitate a newborn. I know what to do. When someone begins to panic, it's for the lack of knowledge. I promise you. There's a huge difference between knowing what to do and knowing what not to do. If I'm on a plane, this happened, I was on a train and they announced if there was any medic on the train, and I got up, two other people got up. The other guy was British, and we just we're going through all the coaches, and my adrenaline was pumping because I wanted to see what the emergency was. And we get there, and they said, "Oh, it was a lady that was vomiting," and I was a bit deflated because the adrenaline had gotten to a certain level, and I was able to perform CPR, and all of that because I know what to do. So if you know what to do, even in emergency, I know how to perform CPR. I know what to do. You would see me looking very calm. My heart is racing, but I'm calm. I'm systematic in my movements because I know what to do. So what people need to do is equip yourself with the knowledge of what to do in emergencies. That is the only way you can remain calm. And that calmness is also for the parents and for their loved ones. Imagine as a doctor, I'm panicking. Oh my God. Oh, then what do you think the parents are going to do? So the calmness is for myself and then for the parents, because it's only when you're calm, you're able to think well and, your movements are fluid. So calmness is just for me as much as it's for the parents and for their caregivers, to understand because they keep looking at you. You're on a plane, there's turbulence. What do? You look at the air hostesses. Whenever I see they're calm and moving around, I'm like, okay, not bad, not bad. I adjust my seat and, So it's the same thing in practice. Whenever something happens, the parents look to you as a doctor. If you panic,
they panic too.
Everything goes south. So the knowledge keeps you calm.
What has been the greatest lesson or lessons your work has taught you?
Aside from the lessons I've learned from the little humans, they teach me every day. My greatest lesson would be, it's not in practice per se, but it was in setting up Dr Mims Clinic. I don't think anything is impossible anymore. I don't think so. I don't think anything is impossible. In the past, I would think myself audacious to think of certain things. But I promise you, the idea of Dr. Mims Clinic was not conceived in a boardroom. It was at a dinner table. Intimate conversation, myself, my husband, a family friend, just based off on his experiences he's had in hospitals here in Abuja. And somewhere along the line, he tells me, he was like, Mims, you're so good at this thing. Why not set up a hospital? And honestly, my first thought was disbelief. I was like, how? Isn't that very ambitious, But throughout the conversation, I was more quiet, and that stayed with me. I didn't sleep that night. I started writing what would work, what kind of care would I want for the kids and their families, what wouldn't work, you know? And that was in December 2021. And fast forward 4 months, the first patient walked into Dr. Mims' clinic. And honestly, if you ask me how, I can only tell you that first and foremost, it was God. And it was a lot of support from my small but solid inner circle who believed in the vision I had. Because it wasn't public knowledge. I kept it very private.
Yeah.
The first time it became public was when it had come to fruition. It was standing and people were like, how did you do it? It was during Ramadan, and all of that. And it was standing. And I now learned, and when I look back, I'm like, how did this happen? And now I think I try to aim for anything. To me now, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible with determination, prayer. And I feel that if you do something, fi sabilillah, and with a pure mind, God will only be kind to you. Something as little as doing a refund. A parent overpays 500 naira and I tell the family, oh, tell account, we have to pay it back. They're like, Emma, it's just 500. No, pay it back. Because growing up, my mom will always tell you, you can take 10 naira from someone and to dilute all the halal money you've worked your whole life. And that has stayed with me. So it's like you've been working all these years, making money. And then 500 naira you took that wasn't yours. And we only do tests when we feel is needed. There's this, rule, anybody that walks in, just do all the tests because you're making money.
Yeah.
But I insist that you only do things that are necessary because, they're kids, poke them unnecessarily. And I feel because we're practicing, because even the love we receive as Dr. Mims Clinic, sometimes I can't explain it. Fast forward 4 years, a mom walks in for the first time. And I like to ask them, well, how did you hear about us? A lot of it is what my sister said, or my sister-in-law. And she was like, that she's new in Abuja and she just went on ChatGPT and put the best pediatric clinic in Abuja and we popped up. Oh. And I promise you, my shoulder was high. On that whole day, I go home. My husband said, what's the problem? I said, no, nothing, no, but this is what happened, And it was so, like that piece of information, I was so happy that day. And I think is rooted in our practices. Just honesty and doing things, sakani da Allah. And I think that has been to forget our style of consultation or the kids love us, but I think that too has played a huge role. Just do things the way is meant to be. Just know that, if I die today, I know that, alhamdulillah, I know we all sin in different ways, but try your best to do things as God would have, like God will be happy with you in that way. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned. If you do things in the way Allah has, set it out for everybody to do it, I think you'd see the reward, even here on earth, not just when we're all gone. Here on earth, you're going to see the reward in your businesses, in your family life, all of it. So alhamdulillah.
What are the challenges you faced establishing or building the institute as Dr. Mims?
You can imagine small meal. I was going to set up a hospital. I learned everything on the job. I had no accounting background. I had no MBA, I had none of that. Nurain, by the time I was done, if you ask me the price of concrete nail, I know. POP cement, I'll say, but I bought 4 kg, how much, I just immersed myself in all of it. I was the one in Utako Park. I was ordering things from Lagos, from AliExpress. I learned how to order things from China. I was on site some days till 12 midnight. I learned on the job. Some of the challenges I faced was because I was a woman. Some of the artisans would not want to speak with, with me because they will assume, why is this one asking us? Because I would drive in and be like, okay, like the roofing, are you sure this? And one of them looked at me like, who is this one? So I kept quiet. He was quite rude, went to my office, time for payment. So the person that contracted them, who I had spoken to, said, oh, the madam is around now, she should be around because the place wasn't set up, but my office was ready.
Yeah.
And he came in, head was bowed, and he was looking left and right, that, Auntie, you should come and meet me for payment. But yeah, I was asking you questions, you were. So I got a lot of that. Like people say, I want to see the MD and they walk in and it's me. And they're like, she's the one. Those are some of the challenges I faced. People felt, is it this person that is in charge of all of this?
Just because you're a woman?
Because I was a woman. And honestly, sometimes, I'll just be in my long hijab because I'm just going to the site. Some people not even want to speak English to me because they think I don't understand English. So a lot of the challenges I faced was because I was a woman. And sometimes they would give me prices that were outrageous and I'll just go on Gigi. I learned how to do all of that. I'll compare prices, if, inverter issues, all of those things I learned on the job. And I had to learn what plumbing terms were. I had a lot of support because I have directors who, oh, this is a civil engineer. So I had a lot of input. So I had backing. But it was very challenging physically and mentally because I was thinking so many things. I was doing accounting. I was there by the generator. I was talking to the, mess up this. I'll have to come back. You have to break down this wall. But then it's the experiences I could never regret, getting. So those were the challenges I faced. And then, financing, because some things were very costly. I had to import most things because there were no child-friendly equipment here in Nigeria. So I had to import most things. But at the end of the day, it was worth it. And I've gained the experience. So, yeah.
I take it those things aren't things you can learn in a book.
No. There was no YouTube video that was going to teach me any of those things. There was no manual to learning those things. It's something I had to make the mistakes and learn from them. But I had a lot of help. I can't not say that. People were so gracious, like people that started hospitals, I'll reach out. Well, I'd like to say my biggest currency is people currency. I have a lot of people I could just pick up and call, and they're always willing to help. And that's why I like to pay it forward. If somebody calls, I need to set up in a heartbeat. I can spend 2 hours on the phone. Even if you don't need the help, I want to help you. It's just paying forward because I had a lot of people in my corner. I just stood on shoulders of people who had gone there before me. So alhamdulillah.
What would you say to people who hesitate to ask for help? I used to be like that, where it's like,
don't.
I needed help, but I always keep it to myself.
Oh my goodness, like, I've gotten so much help from people. And I think that was one of the reasons we started the mentorship platform with a friend of mine. Because I'm like, I've gotten help from, I seek mentors. I seek people that have done things before me, that have done it the way I want to do it. I even look at the way they talk, the way they behave. And I love to pay it forward. Never hesitate to ask for help. What's the worst that can happen? And no. The only thing I'm hesitant about asking for help is money. I hardly ever ask for money. That's one thing I don't ask for. I don't ask for money, but I ask for knowledge. I ask for guidance, like just physical help.
Yeah.
Oh, I ask for help, and I ask for help for people. If somebody wants something and I know you can help, you're in trouble because I will hound you. So I beg you, don't hesitate. The same way we don't hesitate to pray to God for if we need help. I mean, God puts people in our path to help us. So sometimes, this is in human form. This is the help God intended for you. And if you don't help, people would never know you're struggling or you need that help. Oh no, don't. I'm in a heartbeat of the worst you can say is just no. And then I'm cool with it because you must have had a reason for saying no, but I always ask for help. For whatever, as long as I know you can help me, I would ask. If you say no, that's okay. I'll move on to the next person.
I mean, that's something that has helped me in my life. I think the mindset I've adopted is, there was this line, a quote I keep replaying in my head that says, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you don't ask, you won't get. And if you really think about it, like the worst that can happen is they just say no.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And how bad is a no? You just ask the next person. Like there's always somebody else.
Yes, I'll move on to the next. And no hard feelings, I promise you. No hard feelings. Because there's always a reason somebody says no. It's either they want to do it or they don't or they can't. Whatever your decision, whatever forced that decision, I think I'm okay with it. But I would ask. As long as it's not money, I'll ask.
I feel God too could just be protecting you too.
That's another way to look at it.
I think this might help a lot of people listening, which is I see every rejection more as redirection to what was meant for me. So maybe this person doesn't give me what I want. Okay, fine. I guess them rejecting me is just redirecting to the person that's actually supposed to help me, take me to the next level.
Can I share something with you?
Sure.
I think 2015. So that was 6 years before I started Dr Mims Clinic. There's a hospital here in Abuja. child friendly. I loved it. I would go there, just go for their clinical meetings, volunteer. I wanted to work there. So I did get a letter to start working there. So I was excited, over the moon. And then I got an invite to come in and have a discussion. So I thought they wanted to discuss pay or something. I just put on my blazer. I went there. Something had happened. And then I got the bad news that, oh, they're not taking me anymore. Something happened, Oh, I was gutted. I was very upset. I was sad. I went home. 6 years later, I set up my own practice. And I promise you today, I think one of their major competitors. So now when I look at it, that rejection was because, so if I'd gotten that job, I would have stayed on 6 years, getting to 10 years. All my ideas, I would pour my heart out into that place. But I think that rejection happened so that I could start my own practice. If I didn't get rejected, I doubt I would have started Dr. Mims, because I promise you I would have still been there. So when I look back at it, I was like, so, because then I was so sad. I was like, did I deserve this kind of rejection? So now that you coin it that way, I got rejected then. I think to do this. So just brings me back to what you just said.
Yeah.
Sometimes that rejection might hurt at that time.
It's what you needed.
It's just what I needed.
What does happiness look like for you?
Happiness is the days I'm home. I have no itinerary, nothing to do. Like, I'm just home. My whole family is home. I have nothing planned for the day. I can just relax, and then there's nobody that's critically ill at the clinic. I'm just relaxing and I'm with my family. Everybody around me is well, That's just, honestly, that's happiness to me. And I'm just having something I really love to eat, just having a relaxed day. On the work front, happiness is the child comes in very ill. They go home. That message that comes in from the parents saying, oh, baby A is doing much better. Oh, thank you so much. That alone, if you want to see me mentally challenged, is a child that we've treated and the parent calls to say, she's not getting better. Oh my goodness. That's when you see me mentally unstable, because the work doesn't stress me physically. It's the mental load of it sometimes. I think you can liken it to any profession. You go and repair something and they come back and tell you that nothing has changed or it's the same. Oh, that's how I feel. I treat a patient and then the parent just uses that word. She's not any better. So happiness is the opposite for me.
How do you handle that though?
So internally, it breaks me. But then obviously it's okay, can you bring her back in? Let's do a review. Sometimes you realize that, oh, the medication you gave, there was no compliance, or you need to make a change. At the end of the day, they get better, but that's that hitch. It's a setback for me and it makes me sad. And parents don't understand that just that feedback when something goes well goes a long way. And that's happiness for me. The parents that when something goes well, they give you feedback.
Yeah.
Because some parents, to be honest, they only give you feedback when something goes wrong. But parents understand just that update. Oh, Dr. Mims, we're done with the medication. He's back to himself. Because most times we'll check in. But sometimes if we don't hear from them, that means, well, just that message. Oh, that's pure joy. That's absolute happiness for me.
What if on the family front?
Family front. Going on a trip. Honestly, just going on a trip, no care in the world, exploring a country I've never been to. That's happiness for me with my family, whether extended or nuclear family. Just going on a vacation. You know how things that feed the eyes, like beautiful scenery, landscape. Sometimes I go to a country and I feel like I'm in a movie. That's just happiness for me. And I love to shop.
It's allowed.
So just having enough money to shop, just enough to keep me happy.
Yeah.
I love shopping, whether it's window shopping or online. That makes me very happy. Just not having to convert from that currency to Naira, because now it's so difficult not to shop without converting. I'm just carrying my phone. This is how much. So just happiness is just, traveling and just being on vacation. That relaxed, you're not tense. Though I carry work with me everywhere. It's different when you're the one running the place. But at least we've gotten to a place where the place can survive without me. So I'm able to just relax and enjoy new cultures and try new food. That's all I ask for in this world. I don't need to buy a designer handbag, or I'm not even into that. It's just the experience. I just need to experience new places, and with my family. I don't like to travel alone. You'll never catch me in a cinema alone or a restaurant alone.
No, me too.
Yeah.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I don't like solo
I
activities.
I would never. So just traveling and exploring new places, that's
Mm.
just what makes me happy, honestly, with family.
I find it so interesting that quality time really matters to you with your family, but on the other hand, your job takes you away from your family. And you've just come to accept that.
So that's the sacrifice. That's the sacrifice. And people don't understand it. And I know deep down within me, nobody needs to tell me.
Mm.
I don't need outside validation. I know I've sacrificed so much,
Mm.
so much to be in this position, to do what I do every day.
Mm.
So I've never thought of it honestly in this. This is the first time I'm thinking of it in this way. And it's funny, it took you to tell me that this is what matters to me the most. Nobody has ever asked me, what does happiness mean to you? So this is the first time I'm actually saying it out loud, not in my subconscious.
Yeah.
And you're not piecing it together that on this hand, this is what matters to me the most. And this is something I get to. So I think this now confirms to me that this job is a job of sacrifice, because there's no amount of money I feel that can pay me. Like I keep saying, I don't need anybody to tell me. I don't need, there's no amount of money that would pay for the sacrifices I've made. So thank you for putting it out there in black and white. I think it makes me feel a whole lot better that in trying to do what I do, I have to let go of what happiness means to me every now and then. Good, alhamdulillah.
Have you had a fundamental belief that you've held on to your entire life that changed because of your career?
So sometimes, like in the past, I've always believed that if you do the right thing, if you play by the books, then everything will turn out well. People will appreciate you. But that's not the case. So in our line of work, you can play by the rules, do everything to your last might and strength. But when something goes bad, you still have people that would say, oh, you should have, or you didn't, or you. So now I don't believe it. So that's why your only validation should come from Allah. Because if you depend on human beings to give you that validation, sometimes you won't get it. Growing up, I thought if I just do the right thing,
everything will fall into place.
Yes. I will get praise for it. I'll get the reward for it. And look at it in our profession. Sometimes you give it your all and you can't still save that life. So I mean, you tried your best, all the knowledge you applied it. So you don't always get what you want. People assume that if I do the right thing, I should get. No. I've prayed for for clients, for patients. I've prayed. I've done the best I can, but sometimes you still lose them. So what does that tell you? You can't get everything. Growing up, I thought I could have it all. Because anything I wanted, I got. Every birthday, I'll get a gift, I had never failed an exam. Anything I applied for, I would get. Later on in life, I realized it wasn't always the case. Take example, that job I told you about, I did get it. I applied for residency a couple of times, I didn't get it, despite passing the exams one try, and all of that. I fast realized that it doesn't always work that way. Bad things happen to good people. And that's just the way the world goes.
No matter how good you are, it doesn't mean the world will treat you good. But it shouldn't change the fact that you're good.
Exactly. So I think that too, I've stayed the course. I would like to think so, that despite some repercussions and sometimes the responses you get from some people, despite going the extra mile, because sometimes I feel I even went outside, and then it's like, oh, is this the things I get, and then people are, but then sometimes I wouldn't lie to you. Sometimes I think, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to stick to the. But no, you have to look at the statistics. Out of maybe let's say 50 parents, how many parents actually do that? So I just stay the course, and as long as God is pleased with me, like I say, I don't depend on human validation. And you know what's different about pediatrics? The child is the center. So regardless of what the parents are like, I had a parent when I was working in the general hospital, he had taken off his shirt, flexing his muscles. He was going to beat me up. And Nurain, I promise you, it was almost as if he wasn't there. Because this child was dehydrated. I had to set an IV line. And I just continued calmly. And I remember the matron saying, that like I was so calm that she would have been so agitated, because my center was the child. And honestly, before the end of the day, I was on call that day, I was in the call room, and there was a knock on the door, and one of the cleaners was like, that is a parent looking for me. And there he was with his wife. The wife had brought him home, but he wanted to apologize. That regardless of how he was, like he was calling me names. So imagine if I was treating him as a patient, I would have walked away, I promise you. I would have walked away. But he was the child, and the child wasn't the person. So with pediatrics, regardless of what the parent does, your focus is the child. So as long as the child gets better,
It's all that matters.
nothing else matters. Everything. And that's how we do our, staff training. The core is the child. It is not your ego, it's not whoever, it's not the parent. The core is the child. And I'm just happy I'm in that space, not adult medicine.
Is there any topic that we haven't discussed that you'd like us to dive into?
I think in terms of children with special needs, I think we need to be more, I think we all try, those of us in that space, to create awareness. I think we need to be less judgmental. We need to be more empathetic towards parents that are living with children with that care for children with special needs. I think we need to do more, like in terms of support, and not just passing comments. We need to enlighten ourselves, learn about these things. Things like autism is not written on the child's forehead. It can mistake a child who is having like a steaming episode, or being overstimulated, for a child that is being spoiled, or for bad parenting, because you don't even know the whole story. I think we need to know more. I don't blame some parents or people that judge, because it's coming from a place of not knowing or ignorance, because they don't know. And they make comments. Even at the clinic, we have some of our patients coming, and other parents, I see the judgment in their eyes. Oh, I'm backing a child that is 7. Like, why is she backing this big boy? But I'm just trying to help him self-regulate, things like that. I think we need to open our minds to understand this condition, so that we can be there more supportive and all of that. And I think we need to be advocates. If you see a child being abused or something, I think we need to speak up for them. Recently, I had a chat about child abuse, and most people will tell you statistics shows that when they see it, they look away, because they're scared that when they get involved, they may get implicated, and all of that. So I think we need to speak up more, especially for the ones that don't have anybody to speak up for them. Yeah, basically just be advocates. And I always say it, that how they say when you want to know the true nature of somebody is when he has money. For me, is how the person treats the elderly, animals, and then little humans. That's when you know the true character of someone. I always look at it that way. When I see people, how they treat the elderly and animals and then little humans, it's either makes me give them a plus, or then X them, you know? So I think we need to be kinder, and it's a terrible thing to go through, having to raise a child with special needs. And I think it's such a lonely journey for the parents. So and most people don't know, so they don't know how to help. But I think if we try to know more about it, read about it, ask questions, then we'll be able to support them more.
Through all your work, what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I just want to be remembered as the one who always stood up for little humans, who was always willing to drop everything and just, I just, and it's the kids I want to remember me that way. It's not the parents. I want every child that I've crossed paths with to remember me in that light, to pray for me when I'm no longer here, to know that just being in touch with me made a difference in their lives. I think if I'm remembered for that, the same way when people hear anything about children, they look for me. They send me messages. That's how I want to be remembered. The person that always cared for any little human, regardless of your social class, your religion, or your tribe. If you needed me, if it's within my power, I would up, get there, and try to do the best I could. And if I didn't leave any child better coming in contact with them, my prayer is that I didn't leave them worse off than when I met them. And that's it. Nothing else.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Honestly, this has been a very insightful conversation. For anyone who's wondering where the hospital is, I will, in the description, I'll put it somewhere where that they can easily find it, so they know that the coolest hospital is here in Abuja, in Katampe Extension, and it's called Dr. Mims. Yes, Dr. Mims Wellness.
Clinic and Wellness. So honestly, I just also want to say thank you. I don't know, like I told you, I found out so many things today. And I see this is why people actually go for therapy. Because I feel like I just had this session. Honestly, I feel like I've been able to say so many things that have been on my chest. And you might not know it, but this conversation has done a lot for me as well. So thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for thinking me worthy of, having this conversation. And may Allah bless, the work that you do and all the impact you're making. And, I've seen your story on how you started and thank you for trying to make other people to come out of their shell and then, become great in what they do. May Allah bless you.
Thank you.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, I have 2 small favors to ask. First, if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe on the platform you're on right now so you'll be notified when the next episode is out. Second, if you know someone who could benefit from this, consider sharing it with them. The more people share and subscribe, the bigger the show gets and the more amazing guests we can invite to share their knowledge and insights with us. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.